Hello, this is Erick Widman from Passage Immigration Law, and we are doing our weekly live Q&A every Wednesday afternoon on the Pacific Coast time. And we're also including LinkedIn today. So hopefully this goes through with our StreamYard tool. We have some great questions, as always, from clients and potential clients and immigrants around the country, around the world. And here is the first question. This is one of my favorite questions that I've answered before. Is it better to do a fiance visa or an adjustment of status with your special someone? So this question is near and dear to my heart because 22 years ago, my fiance and I were figuring out that exact same question. We were getting to know each other. She was Hungarian, I was in the US, until I went out to propose to her. And I lived in Hungary for a year and right after law school, and we were trying to figure out, after we were dating and getting serious and I proposed to her, what is the best pathway forward? And so for serious couples, there's two main ways to proceed. There is the fiance visa or an adjustment of status following entry as a visitor. And both have their pros and cons. A quick summary is that a fiance visa is often a good choice if you definitely want to get married in the US, and it's okay. It's in the plan, and it's fine with your families and fine with you both to be separated for up to a year. It's difficult to travel during that year. So an adjustment of status, in contrast, if your fiance is able to come into the US, visit you without immigrant intent, and that's a key legal issue. That's one of the primary legal issue for many couples, is to avoid triggering problems by entering with immigrant intent. So you can't enter on a visitor visa and not have the non-immigrant visitor intent. So you've got to truly intend to visit, have a return ticket, go back to home country and get it. That is the dog here coming into the office. You've got to return back to your home country and have that plan laid out in the master plan for your relationship. So if that's not possible, you don't want to come in on a visitor visa without non-immigrant intent. If you're planning to adjust status, it's a no-go. You get in big trouble. That's visa fraud. But for example, my wife and I, she entered in with genuine non-immigrant intent. She came to visit me. She was my serious girlfriend at that point, and she was planning on a return ticket to go back home. I persuaded her, though, at that point, it was a couple months into her stay, that she should stay here with me and get married and no longer be separated from me. And we did a courthouse wedding at that point, and many international couples do this. We then planned the real wedding celebration after we were legally married in the US. We did that in Hungary. That was right after September 11th. It was a crazy time where 11 days after the Twin Towers went down, our wedding was supposed to happen, and flights only resumed a week after that attack. So I barely made it to my own wedding. But the good news is that you are able to quite often choose one or the other of those two pathways. Sometimes a third option, an immigrant visa for your spouse if you're already married, is the way to go. All right, next question. If I already have a green card and I want to keep my green card but live abroad, how do I make sure I protect the green card? Great question. If you're going to be living abroad after all that work, securing your green card through marriage, through a business-based, employment-based green card process, you don't want to give it up. And if you're living abroad more than 6 months at a time, you effectively abandon your green card. If it's more than a year in a 12-month period, you've abandoned your green card. It's void with a few exceptions. But there becomes a presumption when you're living outside the United States for more than 6 months that you have abandoned your permanent residence in the US. So a key tool to avoid this abandonment is a reentry permit. So a reentry permit, Form I-131, allows you to protect your green card. And even though you're living outside the US for over a year, you have to apply for that reentry permit prior to leaving the US, however. You have to make sure that you're physically present when USCIS receives the application, and they take care of it and they process it. You can then, after they've received it and processed it, leave the US and live abroad, but you'd have to come back in a couple months for your biometrics. So many international business people do this because you don't want to be slowing down your international opportunity or being away from your family for a couple months just for biometrics. But it is an extra flight, and flights are quite expensive these days. So that is the heart of the live Q&A. We're going to be taking questions again every week. Be sure to email us at support@passage.law, and we would love to hear from you. Take care.